I went to City College, tried to figure out what am I doing. I took a business class. I remember pitching my restaurant idea, to my business class. And it was just hit with so much like, that's a terrible idea. You'll never make it. And that really inspired me.
That was Emmy Kaplan, founder and owner of Emmy Spaghetti Shack in the Mission. I'm Jeff, and this is Storied San Francisco. We're really excited to have Emmy on the show to share her story. If you were around in the city in the early 2000s, chances are you ended up, on more than one occasion, at a tiny restaurant just off Mission close to the Safeway. Maybe there was a DJ. There was definitely a beaded curtain you went through to grab a drink while you waited for your table. And if you ate there, you probably had a bowl of spaghetti and meatballs that changed your life. In this podcast, Emmy shares the story of her life and her restaurant. Emmy Spaghetti Shack just celebrated being open for 21 years. Whether you've eaten at Emmy's before or not, now more than ever, please support this and other independent restaurants in our city. Here's Emmy.
Hi, I'm Emmy. We're at Emmy Spaghetti Shack at my restaurant.
Yeah, we are. and I will say that I'm slightly distracted because I smell what I'm assuming to be many different dishes, but especially I smell spaghetti and meatballs.
Yeah, you smell the meatballs.
Yeah. So Emmy, tell us what this place is and sort of, we don't have to delve into the history just yet. We'll get to that later, but what is this place to you?
Well, let's see. I mean, it started out as just kind of a fun place to gather back in 2001.
Okay, that was when you opened.
That was when we opened, and I was 24 when I opened the place.
Wow.
So, that was right in the party time. Trying to find, my inspiration for opening was trying to find a place where we could go after work. I was a waitress.
Okay.
And my friends and I were always like, where can we go eat? We loved Sparky's, of course.
Sparky's was there.
But, that wasn't really
R.I.P.
close. We lived on 20th Street, 20th and Mission.
Oh, I used to live there.
Oh, you did?
Well, between Mission and Valencia.
Yeah, same.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I lived there for many years, and I was working at the Flying Saucer at the time.
Okay.
Before that, I worked at Tiku's.
Okay.
So it was kind of like a combination of just, those kind of eclectic places, but realizing we're missing something.
When our shift ends,
where can we go?
Yeah.
We were loud and rowdy, so we wanted somewhere where we could kind of relax but also have good food.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, that's kind of the dream behind it.
Okay.
And spaghetti was, one of our late night things that we would cook.
Totally. Would you say that dream of what you wanted back then is still this is what it is here today? So
yeah,
21 years
later. I've been in somewhat of a time warp, in the Twilight Zone type of time warp where I can't believe it's been 21 years.
Everything is weird.
Everything is weird anyway.
Especially if you're in it.
Yeah, but that amount of time
is insane.
Is crazy.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
And we've moved locations and it's the same feeling.
Mm-hmm.
We're not open late anymore because of COVID, but
right.
we hope to get back there soon.
Right. And I saw the application for limited live performance.
Yeah. So
do you want to talk about that now?
Sure.
That's exciting.
Sure. I'm just trying to think of any way to bring more revenue and try to get people to remember us and to come back, right? And we used to do DJs all the time.
Yes.
There didn't used to be a permit type of thing. So,
yeah.
This license is only until 11 o'clock, which is fine.
Okay.
Myself, I'm too old to be up too late.
11 is stretching it anymore for some.
Yes. Yes. So 11 is fine, and my staff's really excited. So we want to do some karaoke nights, maybe some DJs, like a late night industry happy hour, stuff like that. Yeah,
I like it. I know y'all did DJs at the old Virginia Street spot. Did you ever do DJ?
I had my whole setup I
Okay.
used to DJ.
Oh.
So I have like a whole setup, and I've brought it a few times. But I am very like cut and like I like to follow the rules. I'm a
Okay.
real rule follower
Okay.
for some reason now.
Okay.
Now. So, I felt like getting the permit was the right thing to do.
Right. Yeah.
I
So
don't know.
it's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, let's dive into your story.
Oh.
And of course the restaurant will be part of it.
Sure.
You are born and raised, but do you any of your family's story that you do know to set the stage?
Sure. My mom's from Alameda, so I'm not sure. We're German, Scottish, Irish,
You're
on
on
my
that.
mom's side, and so her family has been in Alameda for a long time.
Okay.
And then she came to San Francisco. She was a real, bona fide hippie.
As a young
Yes.
Stir. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. In the 60s, 70s. Awesome.
In the 50s, 60s, she was at college at San Francisco State.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where she met my dad,
Awesome.
who was a cable car driver.
Oh.
Yeah. So he's my dad's side of the family is probably 3 or 4 generations, San Francisco generations.
Okay. Okay. With at least one cable car operator.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's a really cool story. So.
Yeah. Was that kind of his life work? Like that's what he did?
No, he did that for a while, and they were just free spirits, and he
Love
ended
it.
up doing some real estate, and he owned restaurants in San Francisco also.
Can you name
So-
drop any of the restaurants that he owned?
Yes, he owned Bruno's at a time. He owned Mission Villa, which was next door to Bruno's, and then he owned Anna's Villa, which was where Emmy's took over.
Oh, okay.
So he owned that building
Got it.
there.
Was the bar part of that building?
The bar is
Same-
part of
same
the
building?
restaurant. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So, and my stepmother and I ran that restaurant together.
Okay,
Well, she ran the bar, but I ran the restaurant.
got it. Okay,
So-
and your family name is
My last name?
Yeah.
Kaplan.
Kaplan. Okay,
But it's a Czech name, so it's Kaplanova, really,
Oh,
right?
okay.
That would have been better, but
that's on
I
your
took
dad's
that
side.
out. That's
then.
on my dad's side.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so more like Central European
Yes.
kind of. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, we, when he was having trouble renting that space, and I was in the dreamland of, maybe one day I'll have my restaurant, and so he took a chance on, renting it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get to that in a
Yeah, we
minute.
can get to that later.
So you said they met at SF State back in the
In the 60s.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't believe they actually met at the school, but just out in the hippie land where
Got
they
it.
were frolicking around.
Got it. Yeah. Do you know the story of their meeting or dating?
It's not. I don't.
Okay, that's
It's
okay.
nothing exciting.
Okay. But eventually, do you have siblings?
I do. I have 2 brothers. So
Okay,
I have,
and where
my
do you-
brother, my older brother. They had my older brother, and then they moved up to Sonoma. My mom wanted to get out of the city.
Okay.
But we do have some funny stories of her. They lived right up behind us up here, like on 29th Street, all the way up. Mm-hmm. And she used to walk around the streets with her baby carriage, and she would, carry a gun in her
Oh, good.
stroller back in the early 70s.
Yeah.
1971 was when my brother was born.
Yeah,
so.
and it's interesting, not a judgment, but like you had just characterized your mom as kind of like a hippie, free spirit, and then having babies and
very
having
strong,
a gun.
very
Yeah,
strong
yeah.
woman. So I really take after her.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And then you have another brother that's younger.
I have another half brother.
You're in the
Yes.
middle.
Yeah.
Okay.
From
Okay.
my dad's side.
Okay, so let's get to your life then.
Sure.
So they meet, and then eventually have your brother, and then you you don't have to say exactly when you were born, but is it fair to say you grew up in the 70s, 80s?
Yes.
Like your early, yeah.
Yeah. So I grew up in Sonoma mostly, but then when my parents split up, I would come back and forth. And with my dad, who owned restaurants, I was always, in the back booth
Oh yeah.
kind of thing. That's kind of where we would stay the whole entire weekend at Mission Via.
A lot of stories.
Yeah,
of,
so we grew up there.
Back in the day with like the little kid who either has a connection to the bar or restaurant, or their parents, one of their parents is like a regular. And it's like no, we would just hang out in there and drink Roy Rogers or whatever, and yeah.
Yeah, no, we would have quesadillas, play the jukebox. We had our favorite songs and just be there. 'Cause, they didn't have cell phones, obviously, so my dad had to be in the office all the time taking phone calls, which is always something I laugh about. Like, I can't imagine.
Right. Being tied.
I cannot imagine being tied down like that. But yeah, that was a big deal.
That was a reality. So your dad stayed in the city.
Yes.
When your mom went up to.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I think he was there for a few years, but I don't remember.
Yeah. And so would you stay down here, like stay overnight, stay for a couple days?
Yeah, we were weekend, city kids.
But it was always kind of in this, like,
Mission. Always right on 20th and Mission, or we lived in Daly City at times. We moved around quite a bit. But 20th between Mission and Valencia is where, I kind of grew up there and lived there as, when I was 17, moved back.
Okay.
Moved back into the city.
I can't help. I mean, that's super interesting to me. I lived there in the middle of that block from 03 to 17. Did we overlap a little bit?
So we lived kind of, I'm sorry, until when?
Until 2017.
Yeah, no, I lived there until my son was about 1 or 2 years old. So okay, yeah. And
did we overlap
as
neighbors? We were neighbors.
Yeah, probably.
That's why
there was a lot of action on that block.
Yes, there was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, going back just a little bit, do you want to tell? I mean, even those just weekends at a time and kind of spread out. Just tell folks, like, besides your dad's places, like what kind of things would you do? What was the city like, or the areas you saw?
To us, like, we just really felt at home in the Mission. My stepmom was from Mexico, and so we would, learn Spanish and go to the, little taquerias and, just kind of spend time with each other.
Each other being your brother or? Just
my brother or my step-siblings or whoever was around in the restaurant. Mostly, the restaurant waitresses. There's one of the waitresses actually who used to work at Mission Via. I think she's the owner of the Panucho place right on this corner down here.
Yeah.
And she came up to me, when we moved into this location, was like, "I remember you when you were a little girl." And so, we have those kind of fun memories.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's move on then maybe to like your teen years, would that been like 80s, 90s?
80s, late 80s, early 90s, yeah.
What were you doing? When did you decide to come to SF?
I was wild. I was a wild child for sure.
Okay.
So we would just, take the bus into the city. I mean, at 12 years old, most of my friends, all of our parents were hippies, so we just kind of did whatever we wanted. I mean, that was the 90s.
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
So,
children of hippies.
Yes.
A lot of us. Yeah.
And so we were punk rockers.
Right. Okay. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was fun.
You must have seen some cool stuff.
Yeah, I saw some stuff. Got into lots of trouble. Had lots of exciting, scary experiences along the way. And
how much do you want to divulge of that?
I mean, just the normal stuff that people get into. And then, my mom kind of sent me away. I think I was about 14 or 15. She said, I'm either going to, release you to juvie or you're going to go to Europe with your brother.
Oh.
Something, because he was into going to France. And so I was already working. I already worked in restaurants since I was 13. I faked my work permits and things so I could make money. Because, my mom was a single mom in Sonoma, didn't get much child support kind of on her own. So I had to work and started working in restaurants from a very young age.
Up there?
Yeah.
There
was a hotel near us.
Yeah.
So I worked my way up from busser, hostess, server. I was the head server when I was, 16, 17 years old type of thing.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my entry into okay, I am going to fend for myself. I need to make my own money. And then, so when she kind of said, I'm sick of your crap.
The ultimatum.
Like, you can't live here anymore. You need to, leave me alone. You're driving me nuts.
Yeah.
And so I did end up going with my brother,
to Europe.
For a couple of weeks. We went to Berlin, Paris. We did like the backpacking around, and he had friends there. He had made friends with exchange students and things like that. So we just kind of did hostels and stayed with friends. And I was mostly bored, but I snuck out and went to like punk shows
clubs,
in Berlin.
yes.
Not like very scary stuff, but I thought I was really tough.
Yeah,
so.
they go late there, don't they?
I don't know. I was just out there,
didn't
running
matter.
around, and it was great. And so that kind of opened my eyes like, oh, wow, it's a big world.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really big world. So I wanted to get home, start working again. I kind of, switched some priorities around and grew up a little.
Okay.
And started really working and saving money and decided, okay, you're going to... I think that was, then I decided I wanted to graduate early. I didn't like my school, didn't like high school. So I graduated early and pretty much just kept working and moved back to San Francisco.
Okay.
Where, I went to art school for a year and a half.
Where was that?
At the Art Academy.
Oh, yeah, I work there.
You work there now?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I felt like it wasn't worth it for me personally because I was going to have to pay back the loans.
It's a lot of money. Yeah.
And I dropped out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to City College,
Okay.
Tried to figure out what am I doing. I took a business class. I remember pitching my restaurant idea, to my business class.
Okay.
And it was just hit with so much like, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
You'll never make it.
Mm-hmm.
And that really inspired me.
Totally.
So I dropped the class and started working on that.
Okay.
And so that was kind of my dream to
And so
put that together.
How old would you have been around that? Like,
I was 23.
20. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You graduated high school early at what age?
Probably 16.
Oh, wow.
16.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a November baby, so I was already like the youngest of my...
Oh, youngest. Okay. Sorry. In Texas, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
That's where I'm from. And it's like...
I skipped a couple years where I backpacked around and traveled, and I put myself through worldly education.
Totally.
So...
Can we go back just one more second?
Sure.
I realized there was something else that I wanted to hear about. Because it's right before my time in San Francisco, which is the punk scene. Like let's talk about not the trouble that you got in, but like some of the places you went or the shows you saw, the bands, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, we would see all the bands. I remember seeing. It's just hard. Like we grew up on Green Day. That was kind of the pop stuff that the girls liked. The guys were a little more hardcore, but I mean, I loved like Black Flag and, just like terrible, kind of bands I won't even mention, but, we would go to the Gilman Street, Purple Onion, and a lot of my friends in Sonoma were in bands.
Okay.
So we would just kind of follow them around and, go to all the shows.
Any like...
When we were very young, underage. Yeah.
Any like warehouse or house
No Effects.
shows?
Oh, all those warehouse shows out in the
South of Market and Bayview.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was when I lived here when, 19, 20, it was just working at a restaurant, going to parties, and going to shows.
Waking up at...
Well, I had to go to school.
Oh, okay.
So
you
went
were
to
late
school
and
too,
early.
yes.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but I never did get any kind of degree, probably because of my late night antics, I guess.
Okay. So let's go back to you had that maybe the seed of the idea that became Emmys.
Yeah.
And you said you were at the time you were working and in restaurants and
I worked at the
bars?
Flying Saucer.
Okay.
Which was on 22nd Guerrero. And that was it was very fine. It was fine dining, but it was kind of like eclectic fine dining.
Right.
And
Were you
we had to wear the
serving,
suit.
or-
We had to wear the long suits and
Yeah.
ties, and it just was so stuffy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
uptight.
it was very uptight. The people that worked there were very cool. The chefs were really awesome, but the people that would come in were extremely uptight, and that was really indicative of San Francisco at that time.
Yeah.
And those were the kind of customers that I'm just like, there has to be another place. And so when I did open my place, I'm going forward, but there were customers that would come in that were like that, and I would kick them out.
That was Emmy Kaplan. On the next episode of Storied San Francisco, Emmy tells us all about opening and running her restaurant for 21 years. Part 2 drops Thursday in your favorite podcast app. Music for the podcast was produced, performed, and curated by Otis McDonald. Original photography is by Michelle Kilfeather. Aaron Lim of Bitch Talk Podcast is our contributing producer. And the show is produced and hosted by me, Jeff Hunt. Now in our 4th season, we have more than 190 episodes available on our website, storiedsf.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you can, please rate and review our show so we can reach even more folks. We love email. Drop us a line at storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Stay strong, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time on Storied San Francisco.
This podcast is a proud member of the BFF.FM podcast network. Learn more at podcast.bff.fm.
BFF.FM, best frequencies forever.